What is going on, guys? Crowder here, and today I'm giving you the best aim tips that you can possibly get to become the best player that you can possibly be. And if you guys don't know who I am the head coach of the professional Call of Duty team, Atlanta FaZe, and I used to be a former world champion Call of Duty player myself. So I have a lot of good tips and tricks to give you guys to become the best Black Ops 6 players that you want to be. Let's go. And we're going to be starting off with tip number 1. I'm going to give you guys 4 to 5 tips on the best aiming tips that I can possibly give you for beginners. And honestly, even advanced players, this can just help you in general, because most of the professional players that get really good at COD kind of just do the basics really good because they practice it a lot. So tip number 1, rotational aim assist. So right here, this is Assistant Tucker. He's helping us out for this video to give you guys kind of an idea of what's going on. So Tucker's going to be running across my screen left and right. And you can see right now, I'm not touching my controller. Nothing's moving. And I'm getting no aim assist right now on Tucker as he's diving across. Now, the same thing, if I aim in and I do this, it is the same thing. I am getting no aim assist. The reason why I'm getting no aim assist is because rotational aim assist is not going to activate if I am not moving or doing anything with the controller. Now, a lot of you guys that are playing Call of Duty or are new, or especially just in general, forgot about this. You're going to be holding a lot of head glitches, and you're going to be over here kind of doing this, not moving, right? You're just going to be waiting, and the guy turns the corner, you're like, oh shit, and you die. What you want to do is activate your rotational aim assist, and the way you do that is by using your left or right stick, but the right stick just looks a little funky. If I'm going like this, obviously it's going to look a little twitchy, and it's just going to be like, what the hell are you doing? If you just move your left stick a little bit like this, you can see that aim assist basically does the aiming for you to a degree. Rotational aim assist is very important, and every tip that I give you guys for this video, they're all going to kind of come collectively together to make it one just bundle of tips that will help you get better, and then going on to the movement guide, which we have scheduled for tomorrow. So if you enjoy this kind of content, subscribe to the channel. We have so much more content coming to you guys. But regardless, tip number 1 is rotational aim assist, and if you want to activate it, you want to use your left stick. And now you don't have to only go back and forth. You can also go right and left and right and left, and it will be the same thing. So I can do this, and then look, left, right, and then left. So again, you don't have to go back and forth, you just have to be moving. All right, so now that we got the tip number 1 out of the way, which is rotational aim assist, now what you're gonna need to pair it up with is basically that was all left stick, right? We just talked about a lot about your left stick movement and using that left stick to, you know, go left and right and all that stuff to activate it, yada, yada, yada. Now you wanna worry about your right stick, and what the right stick is used for, it's not really activating your aim assist, but it's used for tracking people and recoil control, and that's what we're about to talk about now. So when you were playing Call of Duty, your guns have recoil. Not much, but they do have recoil. And the way the guns all recoil, they have predictive patterns. So if I shoot this gun at the wall, it's going to go up and then kind of to the left. And I just died doing that because the bots in here that I'm about to use as an example, you know, kind of just ruined that. So one more time, we're going to shoot at the wall. We're going to go up and then a little right and then a little left. And you can see that it kind of goes up, right, left, just like that. So when you're controlling recoil, you want to pull down and do the opposite. So it's going to be down and then a little to the left and then mainly to the right, which is what you want to kind of do, but while all still pulling down. So it's going to look something like this. It'll be down, a little left, then a little right, and then down. And you can see that the difference between the recoils right there to right there is going to be obviously tremendously important when you were shooting people on head glitches, just like I just shot on that guy right there on that bot. So to put this together, basically you want to go to a head glitch, right? And you don't want to stand still. So we're not standing still. And now I want to sit left and right. You can go wide. You can obviously go far off to the left. And as you're doing this to activate that rotational aim assist, which is tip number 1, you now want to use your right stick to kind of track people. If they're moving across your screen, you want to track like right and left like this. And you also want to be able to control the recoil. So it's going to be like this. You're going to hold up. Let me slam that bot. I thought that guy was in front of me. But what you want to do is kind of aim in, and then if you see someone, you want to be able to use your left stick to kind of track, and then use the right stick to do the rest, and it's going to look exactly like that. And if you put those two together, it's going to help you aim a lot smoother. And again, you don't have to pull like crazy down on the right stick. So this is what it's going to look like. So right here, I'm not controlling the recoil, right? And that's what it looks like right there. When I'm controlling the recoil, this is what it's going to look like, which is going to be nice and tight. And the way that's going to look if I was not shooting my gun... Hold up. I gotta shoot these guys. These guys are getting crazy. If I wasn't shooting my gun, all I'm doing is like this. You can see I'm not really going like... I'm not holding my controller really tight and like and spamming it down. You know, like you want to be light on the stick when you're controlling that recoil, and obviously tracking people too, depending on your sensitivity. But again, you want to use a lot of your left stick and a little bit of your right, just for the bare minimum basics of what you need to do. So light on the right stick, heavy on the left stick. And now with that being said, that is tip number 1 and 2. This is kind of like tip number 2.5, but 3, and it's going to be called left stick aiming. So what I like to call this is left stick aiming. It's exactly what I just told you. It's both of those together. But instead of only like going back and forth and then using your right stick to like say track someone like going across here if he was running across that, you don't have to only use your right stick. Again, you can also wide strafe and follow people while controlling recoil. So again, if someone was running across my screen, I can like use my left stick and my like to kind of track their movements. So if he was running to here, I can go like this and then use a little of the right stick. Again, it's kind of like heavy on the left stick and then light on the right. You want to use very heavy movements on your left and then kind of very slightly track with your right. So what I like to call is left stick aiming is people like to really move fast in this game. They use the slides, they use these dives and all that. And what they're doing with that is going to make you have to obviously track them, which again is going to be a lot in your movement and your left stick and stuff like that. So if I'm going here, I'm going to kind of wide strafe out there. If someone was kind of crossing my screen, I'm going to strafe to the right and then strafe to the left and then slightly use my right stick. Slightly use it right there. And that's going to be really, really helpful for you when it comes to just like everything we just learned. So that's why I called it like tip 2.5. It's just a different way of calling it, but your left stick aiming is just going to be your number one, probably the number one best friend to all of you controller players out there for what we're doing. So make sure you're using that left stick while you're aiming. And now let's move on to probably the most important tip that I'm about to show you out of this entire video. And that tip number 3 or 4, whatever we want to call it, is going to be called centering or reticle placement. And what that means, this center dot that I have right here, or your crosshairs, if you're not using a center dot and you're using crosshairs, we'll get there in the settings, don't worry, is going to be where you place it. So my biggest thing I think I see when I watch a casual player or one of my boys that doesn't really play COD, you know, for a living like I do because I'm an absolute loser, is they look at the ground. A lot of people have this fascination of centering or not thinking about centering. They look at the ground or they look too high or they don't really understand like when they're turning a corner, what they're going to be doing. And what I mean by that is I was going to run into this building. Hold up. Got to kill this guy really quick. If I was going to run into this archway, I'm not going to be looking at the ground. And also, most likely, there's going to be someone like in a corner like that. So instead of me looking here, or even if I'm perfectly centered, I'm not going to run in and then turn. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run in and be like right here. So I just have to snap down to this right here. So centering is kind of two things. It's a little bit of map awareness and also understanding like where, you know, the angles and stuff that you're playing. But it's also just kind of in general keeping yourself conscious to centering while you're practicing it. So like the best way I'm going to explain the rest of this is as I run around the map, if there's going to be a guy on this head glitch, if I was approaching this side, I'm not going to stay aimed in here because if there's a guy on this head glitch, I'm going to have to snap up to the left and then shoot. And by the time I do all of that, I'm dead. If you want to reverse the kind of the POV for a second, if there was a guy on this head glitch and he's going like this, if someone, you know, if he turns the corner centered perfectly, I'm dead. I didn't have to even adjust anything and I'm dead. Going back to this side, I would have to go boom, 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 boom. And by the time I do all of that movement in a game of milliseconds, and Call of Duty is a game of milliseconds, the time to kill is anywhere from 150 to like 250 milliseconds. You have no time to do something like that. And that's why really good players have really good centering. And even at a pro level, one of the biggest things that kind of decipher the two players apart is how good their centering really is. Obviously at that really exceptional level, it's like really, really minuscule, but it's going to be important. So again, when you're running around the map, just make sure you're thinking about where you're placing your reticle and your centering and everything else. So if I was running through here, I'm going to center right here. So if someone slides, I'm about chest high and I don't have to do too many adjustments. Not this to that, not, you know, not this to that, or not here to this. It's all going to be centered to where I kind of am predicting where they're coming from. So as I run around this map, I'm just going to give you some examples. So here, I'm centered up, boom, not too much of a snap. Right here, all I had to do is here to here. And then as I keep moving, I hear someone behind me. I'm going to turn around, centered here, and then boom, I don't see anything, boom, right here, centered. And you can see as I was sliding down, I didn't have to do too much adjusting. And the more you kind of get used to this and keep this in your mind, the more is going to help you so much, to the point that you just get so far ahead with where you're going, where people are like, how the hell did he know I was there? You didn't really know, you were kind of just predicting it. And again, you just run around. So center high is going to be right there. And a big question that I get asked about centering is, where should you actually center? Should it be like low? Should it be at the head? A lot of people think, you know, headshot centering is godlike. But the problem with headshot centering is if my first bullet hits here, you see the rest of those bullets don't really hit the headshot right there. So what you really want to do is kind of aim here, and then your first 2 bullets kind of jump up to the upper chest / head, and that's where you get the headshot multiplier and that upper chest multiplier where your bullets are going to be strongest. So having your reticle a little bit lower and then letting your recoil do the rest is going to be really important, because most people don't shoot absolute lasers. Their first couple bullets will jump up, and then they'll start controlling recoil. So you have to keep that in mind, obviously, when you're running around. And now, a quick disclaimer, for any of you dark matter grinders, as you can see, I have dark matter. A big thing that will help you in this grind that I'm also going to teach in a whole other tutorial, which is why you should sub to the channel. Headshot centering on hardcore mode, since it's only 1 bullet to the head. If I was going for headshots, instead of centering down here, not this guy, instead of centering down here, which would be chest high, I'd be centering up here, because I want that first bullet to get that easy headshot to obviously do all these challenges that we're doing. But that, again, is going to come into another video down the road, which is probably in a few days from now. So again, make sure we're subbed. But yes, practice your centering, and then as you can see as I'm running around now, rotational aim assist, recoil control, left stick aiming, and centering are all going to be the most important thing. So as I'm running around, I am using everything that I can. So if I see someone, I will let you know what I'm talking about. Boom, I'm going to center here because he's going to be right there. Boom, left stick and go back forth. Got everything that I need to do just like that. So make sure you are running around, and then every time you shoot, you use every tip that I just did. Left stick aiming, rotational aim assist, recoil control, and centering. And as you do that more and more, the better you will get, and the more you practice this, the more kills you will get in Call of Duty. And last but not least, our final tip for this video before we get into the most important, which is settings, because if you don't have any of the right settings, everything I just taught you, you won't be able to actually perform, is going to be not the most important tip out of all of them. I'm not going to lie to you guys, but it definitely can help you guys. This is more a little for the advanced players that really understand where people are coming from and stuff. And also, if you want a tutorial on like spawns and stuff, let me know. Maybe I'll do a spawn guide tutorial of how to get more kills and yada yada. But regardless, we are going to talk about pre-firing and hip firing first. And what I mean by that is, depending on the gun that you're using, you have a sprint to fire speed, which is how quickly you can shoot after sprinting. And then you have an ADS speed, which is how quickly you can actually get your sights, you know, aim down sights up. And some guns, mainly submachine guns, have a faster sprint to fire speed than they do ADS speed. So for example, if I were to turn this corner, I'm actually able to get my shot off before I'm able to fully ADS. Vice versa, some guns aren't like that. So if I switch to my sub right here, hold up. So you can see as I'm running around with this submachine gun, if I want to, you know, sprint to fire, I'm going to be able to shoot and then aim before I aim in fully. So when you're sliding around, or you want to obviously, you know, do anything that you can, you want to make sure you're almost like hitting your right trigger first before your left. And this is mainly for submachine guns or anticipation. If you're using an AR and you're kind of getting cracked out, you want to pre-fire or hip fire first. So with submachine guns, we're going to, you know, it's more of a hip fire first thing. And then with your ARs, it's going to be more of a pre-firing thing. But you want to turn corners. And if I knew a guy was around this corner right here and he was laying down and he's waiting, other than using my movement to break his camera, which is going to be in the next guide, I want to slide, center, hip fire first, and then boom. That slide to hip fire is going to get my bullets off before he can even react, and it's going to take those extra milliseconds out of his favor, and I'm actually going to be able to get those kills. So the more you use a submachine gun, the more you're going to watch, especially if you watch my gameplay or good gameplay. A lot of the times, they'll slide, and right there, it doesn't look like I hip fired first, but I did. And those extra bullet or two can actually help you where you don't even know. So again, slide, hip fire first, slide, hip fire first. Again, hip fire first right there. Right there is a good example. You can see it. Off the sprint, you're hip firing first. And if you do that while you're, you know, using your movement or your jump shotting, it's going to help you out tremendously. Of course, you can still aim in. I'm not saying don't use your L trigger, but make sure you're actually using that pre-fire or hip firing first method when you're playing. And then, of course, if we switch back to the AR, 1 second, instead of hip firing first, what you want to do is if you know someone is going to reach out you, like say this guy's going to reach out me, I'm going to pre-fire. And just like that, you can see that I'm getting my shots off before he can even peek, or while he, you know, before he's peeking me. So when he actually peeks this corner, he is dead. So this is going to be a little bit more of an anticipation thing. And the better you get a COD, the more you'll understand that they always reach out. I think my motto always is they always come back in COD. So if you were playing Call of Duty and you are kind of getting better at, you know, understanding your opponents and reading your opponents, everything that I taught you from tip 1 to now, include that with some pre-firing. Or if you know spawns, for example, this is A domination. They like to spawn back there. If I was playing an A domination, I'm going to play the same. I'm going to go right here, and I might start pre-firing this because I have a feeling they're going to, you know, kind of come through that alleyway. Or again, I get here and this guy just kind of goes to that head glitch. I'm going to wait. And then maybe I'm going to start shooting before he peeks the head glitch because I'm kind of predicting it. Using every other tip that I just showed you with the predictions and the IQ, as you get better, you will get a lot more kills. So if I saw this guy right here, I shouldered, I saw him, I can start shooting kind of as I turn the corner. It's going to take the millisecond time to kill in your favor just a little bit more and help you out a lot. But that's going to wrap it up for the basic tips. Practice these as much as you can. And if you don't know how to practice it, I'm going to show you that. And then we're going to show you settings and we're going to let you guys be on your way. Let's go. And really quickly, I'm just going to run you through this if you guys don't understand how to do this. First of all, this is a private match. And if you guys don't know how to get to a private match, for the very new players that don't know, you go to multiplayer and when you click find a match, private match is going to be on the bottom left. You go to private match, you click create a private match, and then you go over here. And now what I like to do, if you don't want to play public matches or you don't want to start your day kind of getting absolutely slammed and you want to warm up and practice this, the best way I used to do this when I was a pro player, a lot of pro players still do this, is you shoot free-for-all bots to help your centering and work on it at a basic level. Because we all know if you have a bad game or two, you're going to start raging. And then once you start raging, it don't matter how hard you're practicing, your mental's out of the way and you're going to get slammed. So really quickly, you go to game setup. I like to play a free-for-all. I like to play on a smaller map like Babylon like we just had. And what I like to do is you take the score, you put it to 45, you take the score limit, you put it to 1,000, you go over here, you go enable minimap on, radar's always on, I put on constant. And then other than that, you don't have to do too much crazy stuff. You can technically put it over here to max health if you have trouble kind of finishing off the kills or controlling recoil. Put it on some extra health if you really want to, or if you play Warzone, you can obviously put it up to 300. But either way, after that, you kind of back out from that, and then you go to this plus sign right here above my camera. You click the plus sign and you go over here, add bots, add as many as you'd like. And then difficulty, I don't actually like putting them on veteran because I'm not trying to shoot against good players or anything. I'm just trying to practice my aim, so I leave them on recruit, or you can put them on regular, and then you go from there, and then you obviously rip the game. If I actually click enter on that, you can see all of these bots enter the lobby. You click start and you're good to go. But now we have to move on to the most important part about this video. Everything I just taught you, you guys cannot put all together if you don't have the right controller and pro settings that you have. So controller settings, we go over to controller, and I play tactical flipped. That's more of a movement thing. We'll get there in the guide. But we're going to talk about the number one thing first is horizontal and vertical stick sensitivity. And now for a quick disclaimer, I play on 7.7. What I'm going to teach you in this video is what most CDL professional players play on, what I play on. And again, there are going to be a lot of content creators that you guys watch that might play on crazier sensitivities. Maybe you guys play on crazier sensitivities. You do not have to play on these sensitivities to be good. A lot of this is preference. But at the end of the day, a lot of you guys just starting out, or if you're new watching this video, I would recommend trying these out and finding your play style. And then on top of that, the reason why most professional Call of Duty players in the CDL Call of Duty League use these sensitivities is because they can't afford to miss bullets, but they also have to keep up with their enemy. And a lot of this is going to be the balance of both worlds for that. So I think the default in this game is 5. I like to play on 7. And the reason why is because I think you can keep up with the Omni movement. You can, use your own movement and keep up with them while you're doing it. But you can also be really accurate with this sensitivity. So I play on 7.7, but another way you can kind of look at this, which is a pretty different way and a cool way, and I call it the Celia method because he's one of the only pros in the league that does this, is you can have a higher horizontal stick sensitivity, but a lower vertical. And what I mean by that is, look, higher horizontal stick, lower vertical. And basically that what that means is when you're using your right stick, when you're going horizontal, it's going to be faster than when you're going vertical. So it kind of keeps you like on that horizontal wave a little bit easier to kind of swipe your right stick back and forth. And it just feels pretty good. And now when I do this, what I like to do, Celium doesn't do this, but what I like to do when I do this is go over to the aiming side and you go to your sensitivity multiplier, and you can see this ADS sensitivity multiplier right here. What this means is your ADS sensitivity multiplier times your stick sensitivities is what you are going to get. So for example, if you have it on 10, which I just had it, and you times that by 0.8, you're going to have a 10 times 0.8 horizontal stick sensitivity, which is going to give you 8, and you are going to be moving at an 8 when you're aimed down sights. ADS aim down sights, when you're 8, you're going to slow down. So a lot of people actually like to, lower their stick sensitivity multiplier because it kind of feels like you're locking on when you were doing this, right? When you were playing the game. So you can be really fast from the hip. And for example, you can play on 10.10, but then put it all the way down to 0.5. So you're really fast from the hip, But then when you really kind of like, you know, lock on and aim in, you're really, really precise, and you can try something like that out as well. I don't recommend going that far low because I think 5 is too slow to really track people. But again, figure it out, find what works for you, and that was just kind of a different way you can view it. You can play at 7.7 and then play at 0.82. You don't have to do it where your stick sensitivity is different. It's the same exact thing. You can play at 7.7 and then play at 0.8, and it's just going to be a little bit slower when you're aimed down sight to get that lock-on feeling. So let me know what you guys think about that. That's just a different recommendation for you guys that are playing the game. Maybe you want to be a little bit more precise. You're feeling a little bit off. Try that and see how that works. Now, moving on, we're going to go all down to, this is probably the most important part about this video, is dead zones. Everything that I just showed you guys is going to correlate into these dead zone inputs right now. If you guys don't know how these work, I'm going to explain them, and I'm also going to explain why you were doing this with the tips that I just gave you. Okay, so you're going to see all of these dead zone settings are different right now, and I will say this is kind of personal preference to the controller for a couple reasons. We'll get there. But basically, what the left stick minimum is I'm going to reset these to default really quick. So I'm going to, hold up, not use my mouse because that's just really obnoxious. I'm going to reset these to default, which is 99. And then we're going to reset this to 10. And this is how it's going to look. You're going to see that this right here has a little small red ring. And what that means is that is going to be the threshold until your left stick actually recognizes that you're making movement and you make a movement. So if I go to my test dead zone button, and I go to move my left stick, I have to get to there before it actually recognizes that I'm making that move. And the problem with that is going to be delayed, and it's going to feel clunky and it's going to feel weird. So you don't want your left stick minimum to be delayed or clunky, but you also don't want stick drift and it's going to be really wacky and your controller is moving on its own. So the way I like to do this is get your left stick minimum to the lowest possible setting, because your left stick is the most important stick, as we talked about, for movement too, which we'll get there in the other video. You want this to be as quick as possible because you want the quickest response time, right? You don't want delay. So your left stick minimum, what I like to do is, my controller right now can handle 0, so it is instant. But what I would recommend to do is go to 5, or actually I would start at 0. If there's no left stick drift at all and you're not getting any stick drift, your character's not moving on his own, you're probably good to go. But if you are getting stick drift, then you can move it up to 1, then try it out. 2, and try it out. 3, try it out. 4, and so on and so forth. Once you start getting to the 6+, you're probably in the territory of you might need a new controller. That's a perfect time to, plug my controller sponsor, Battle Beaver. You can use code Crowder at checkout, but that's not the point of this video. The point is you want to get the best setting for you. So I'd recommend that. Anything 5 and lower is pretty solid, but I play on 0. Now, the left stick maximum is a little different, and you notice that I actually don't touch the right stick maximum, but I do on the left. And the reason why is you can see the default right now is this. If I lower this, the lower I get, the closer this circle gets to, obviously, the center. If I go to my test stick dead zone, what that means is when I get my left stick about halfway there, a little less than halfway, I am at maximum left stick speed, the threshold. I am going as fast as possible. That's good if you're using tactical sprint assist. You want to sprint faster. You want to get those full fast strafe speeds, obviously, too, right? You want to get to that maximum that you can get as fast as possible. But the thing is, most controllers, once you get pretty low, they start tweaking out. And once they start tweaking out, it's really weird, especially with this maximum dead zone setting. So what I would recommend to do is get this as low as possible, same kind of way without the stick drift. My controller, which is actually a very good controller right now, it's been doing me pretty well, is kind of perfect at 65. You don't need to be obnoxious about this, guys. There is a point where you're kind of going too crazy. So I think 65 is around the lowest I would recommend. And then even if you can get it to, say, 80, if you can get it to 85 instead of 99, that's still a little bit better for the responsiveness and obviously the speed that you want. So I would recommend anywhere from 65 or above. Anything lower than 99 is going to be good. And, test that and figure it out for yourselves, for the movement, the rotational aim assist, and everything that we just went through. Now, going to the right one, this is, your recoil control and your tracking stick, and this is going to be important too. Same exact principle applies. If I go all the way up here, this is going to go crazy. It's going to be not responsive, and you don't want delay, especially on your right stick. That's the sensitivity stick. That's what's, you're moving around and you're looking around at. You do not want this to feel delayed, but you also probably don't want stick drift. So what I like to do is the same thing. I would start from 0, then I'd go all the way up. Now, the one disclaimer I will say about this is there are some people that use dead zones that are really, really low, like 0, and even without stick drift, it's almost too responsive for them, and they just can't handle it, and it's kind of almost hurting them more than it's helping them. So this is going to be a preference thing as well. I actually can use 0. I don't get stick drift, but I prefer a little bit of a dead zone just to kind of make me feel the most accurate for myself. So I play on 3 where I could play on 0. There are people that are going to play on 0 that don't even, that, you know, their controller's not good enough, but they just need that responsiveness. And then there's going to be people that might prefer like 6, and there's nothing wrong with that as well. So I would figure out your dead zone that's less than 10, probably not higher than 6 though. I think 6 is like the max, and then figure it out from there. So -3, you do not want to mess with your right stick maximum at all. It is just not going to help you in any way. And then your triggers, you want to be the most responsive, aka bring them all the way down to 0. All right, now going over here, sensitivity multiplier, we explained that earlier, so we don't have to talk with that. And then you go to your advanced aim settings. These are going to be the most important stuff other than the last thing I'm going to show you. Look inversion, I don't play with look inversion. This right here, this is going to be defaulted to gradual. Sensitivity multiplier is progressively applied when alternating between hip fire and fully zoomed in. You want that to be instant. You do not want that to be delayed or gradual. It doesn't make any sense. You want that as soon as you aim in to be perfect and ready to go. So take this off gradual and put it on instant. It will help you out tenfolds. And then here is going to be the other one, which is going to be show more, and it's going to be your response curve. Default to standard. The easiest way to explain this is when you were starting from your moving to get to your max sensitivity. Oop, I just hit my mic. For your max sensitivity, if you were on standard, it's going to start slow, and then it's going to speed up to whatever you need to do. That slow to speed up is going to feel a little bit weird, where most of the professional players, if actually probably every single professional player, plays on dynamic. And the reason why in Call of Duty, it's kind of broken where the way aim assist works with the dynamic curve, you can start fast to slow. So you're going to get to your sensitivity, whatever you have, but you're starting fast and then you're going a little bit slower. So you feel pretty snappy. And then that paired with the insane aim assist that Call of Duty gives you and that rotational aim assist, you are just going to feel so good. So every single person basically plays on dynamic for that reason. So it is really good. It is the best response curve to play on. So dynamic is godlike in Call of Duty. And then outside of that, the only thing I don't mess with, but you can, is if you turn on custom sensitivity per zoom, you can kind of mess with, like, if you want to have that low zoom for your red dot sights when you're using an assault rifle, but when you're obviously sniping, you don't want that, like, that lock-on feeling. You can just do custom, and it's pretty cool. I don't mess with any of this. It doesn't really make me want to mess with it, so I have that off. But yeah, the last and final thing for you guys is going to be FOV and visual recoil, and then I'm gonna wrap up the video. And what I mean by that is if you go over to graphics and you go over to view, right here, your field of view. So you can see mine's at 105. When I play multiplayer, when I play on 120 FOV, it's going to get real wide and fishbowl-y. It takes all the visual recoil out. And the visual recoil is really helpful for most people playing. A lot of streamers that you watch play, especially Warzone guys. When I play Warzone, I play on 120, by the way, just a disclaimer. It's nice, especially because you're taking longer range fights. Multiplayer is very close up, and you want to be able to see people and react. So a big thing for me is lowering the FOV. I think it just helps out a lot, and you're not going for super long range gunfights, so that visual recoil doesn't bother me as much in multiplayer. So this is a preference thing for sure. Most professional Call of Duty players, like your Optic Gaming players, your Atlanta FaZe players, and so on and so forth, will play from anywhere from 110 to about 95. That is kind of the sweet spot in the CDL right now. So it's anywhere from 110 all the way down to 95. I'm like right in the middle when I play multiplayer. I think 105 is actually perfect for me. So that's been what I've been rocking now. And the visual recoil is not too bad. So I would test anything from what you think you just need to help yourself and figure it out and see how it goes. In Warzone, it's a different topic. We'll talk about that when Warzone comes out for the, obviously, integration. And then ADS field of view, you do not want this on independent, guys. That is the one thing I don't recommend. There are a few players in the world that still play on independent, and they're freaks of nature. Affected is going to get rid of that visual recoil a lot. Independent is going to zoom you in when you aim down sight, and it's going to add a lot more visual recoil that a lot of you guys probably can't control, or even if you can, it's just going to be really annoying. So affected paired with whatever FOV that you want. Again, I would say 110 to 95 for multiplayer. If you really want to bump it up and be cracked, you can do that too for less visual recoil, and then you go from there. And then these settings right here, you have that. And once you have these settings paired with the tips that I just gave you, you are ready to be the best Black Ops 6 player that you can be. This stuff will take practice. Keep that in mind. I hope this helped you guys get a little bit better at COD today. If it did, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys tomorrow or the next day for the movement guide, the dark matter guide. We have so much coming to you guys. I love you guys, and I hope you guys have a great day. Peace.